There's a lot of zigzagging along the way that leads to this, and that's the beauty of, I think, having your own business, is that the more random directions you've gone in, the more helpful it is when you're here. Like I've done jobs at call centers doing customer service. I've been in finance, banking, government regulation at the BC Securities Commission, working at a tech startup, and all those things too. So like, crazy, if you remember February 2020, January was like, oh, there's this weird coronavirus thing happening, right? And I think a lot of it has been like, for us, even at that time, like stuff like, hey, what are we doing? Like, are we going to stay open? I'm like, we're going to come into work tomorrow. If they let us open, we're going to open the doors and then rinse and repeat. And I think like, I'm really grateful in a weird way to look back at that time. Yeah. Because I think if you need to be able to go with the flow to kind of be an entrepreneur, 100%. That was the ultimate go with the flow. It's like, hey, is the world ending tomorrow, or are we going to sell some more weed?
That's
and like,
so interesting.
For our industry, the craziest thing, and there's a quote that a lot of people will say in our industry, is we literally went from illegal to essential in 18 months.
That's hilarious.
From an illegal, we don't want anything to do with these people, to this is an essential service provided to everybody, right? And even within our own industry, like we saw like that first week, we're like, okay, like there was no real uptick with it. It's like we're seeing the liquor store next to us, like people are walking out with boxes of wine. I think a week of hangovers later, we had seniors starting to come into the store and all of a sudden being like, hey, I haven't touched cannabis since the 1980s. Oh, wow. But me and the wife need something to just make us giggle, because I think everything was so heavy and uncertain that people would just kind of went back to like, I think it's the same way in life. Like you just kind of go back to like, what's a time that I remember things being simple and easy?
But I think for me, like one of the things that I will never forget is like when we first talked about it, we were like, I'm running this like a tech company. And I was like, I never understood what that meant. And like, can you expand? Like, can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I saw from the tech company side of it, because there was even for myself, like going from the bank and then the government to the tech company, like my salary got cut in half. Okay, so my salary's been cut in half, and I've never been happier. Yeah. Like I had turned down jobs at that point where like I love that, man. Getting recruited, like somebody offered me double what I was making. I love that. Thinking about it, I'm like, no, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm like, because it was this risk. I'm like, what if I'm never happy again doing what I want? Like I did all these jobs up until that point that I hated, and finding this thing and like realizing like I'm at this place where I'm making half as much as I would before, but I'm willing to run through a brick wall for the people that I work with and for this organization. Right? So it was just like when I was at the tech company kind of looking around and realizing like, okay, I remember thinking there like the first month being there, like, this job is going to be easy. Nobody's doing shit here. Yeah. I'm like, there's people, I'm like, I've seen this one guy wear the same outfit for 4 weeks. Yeah. He's skateboarding around the office. So if you have somebody that has the ability and you can keep them happy, like I think you realize like, okay, that's really unlocking the secret of performance from this specific person, right? The biggest thing really ends up being, well, how do you keep it in the right lane where everybody's happy and having a good time and still being productive and moving it forward? It's like finding the right people. And it's like, for me, it's like just being this open and radically transparent. You get those tidbits from it, is like realistically telling the team is like, hey, we've all worked places that we hate.
Yeah, 100%.
We can make this a utopia. It all depends on whether everybody here abuses the system or works together and gets to this place. So a lot of it has really been kind of that looseness of just kind of letting people know this is the destination we want to get to. Let them kind of figure out where they are, guide them along the way. You've got to let people feel along the way as well too.
But I think a lot of what, like, culture.
And I mean, a little bit of it is just like to maintain sanity, because I'm like, I would call myself an overthinker. I'm always like, I grew up kind of always being like perpetually waiting for something to go wrong.
Yeah, and I think, so my reflection and just thinking about this is, could you speak, because I think there's a lot of parallels with how AI regulation is going to be.
I mean, I think the biggest thing realistically is like knowing once you're getting into this space is like, there's a lot of pipe dreams with like, okay, well, we just got to get this regulation changed. Yeah. And it's not to say that, hey, that shouldn't be something you work on as an industry, but you can't bet your whole business model on the regulations will be this or the regulations will be this.
Yeah.
Like if your whole business plan is based on government thinking, like you're gonna be in for a bad time, right? I mean, I think we'll see how that shakes out, because I think the biggest thing right now, which I'm kind of watching and being a little bit jealous from the outside, is like it almost feels like the government's being a little bit more hands off with it, because I think for them it's like you realize, okay, whether you like it or not, it's going to be a part of the future. Everybody's got that worry about like falling behind other countries, 100%. Other economies doing it. So I think right now when you're starting to see this pushback around data centers and this, like you're going to get something similar to what happened in the cannabis side of it a little bit, is like the regulations are almost designed to I don't want to say quiet, because I feel like it discredits those people, but in essence, like whether you want to call it addressing, quieting those people, there's always going to be that vocal minority. And so the regulations almost in a way get developed into like, okay, how can we get these people not to complain, not to be too negative to us? Yeah. So you almost get that kind of over-regulation. And then what ends up happening after that is you think of your actual stakeholders are going to be companies engaging AI services, companies using AI, or AI employees around that side of it. Yeah. And there's going to be a lot of people that right now it's the biggest thing in their life. If their job doesn't actually get impacted by AI, they're going to fall off. They don't care. Yeah. So all you're going to have left is your actual stakeholders. And I think that's where we are with cannabis. Whereas like everybody thought it was going to be the end of the world, like, oh shit, the whole city's going to be a red light district. But like, 100%. If you look at cannabis regulations 100%. Now, it's the companies, it's the producers, and it's the customers. But the people that are actively involved in engaging with the government are the people that are the actual stakeholders. So I think at the beginning part of it, you're going to have a lot of people pushing for legislation that aren't maybe actual genuine stakeholders.
And I think like the way that I've just been able to consume it, and just like from conversations that I've been having, is like I feel this is the start of internet when it first like the .com era.
And I think like the word that I've heard recently that I really like is like, and I think more than just AI, it's just like the cost of living, everything since COVID, 100%. Kind of where we started from is like the social contract. 100%. You have a lot of people coming in now that are like, hey, I was supposed to go to school, I was supposed to work, and I was supposed to get a job. I save up for a few years, I get a house. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a mansion, but I get a house. And now like no part of this seems to be like guaranteed. Right? Yeah. So it's like at that point is like, I think the bigger thing is, and I think this is the important part of it, just having conversations. Exactly. Like we need to have conversations. If you don't talk about it, then you're going to get protests about it. Exactly. You're going to get protests about it. You're going to get people trying to crush the protests. Like, but nobody's still getting to a point where you can figure this out, right? Like that's what I think a lot of this is like. People are worried about the blue collar jobs being replaced. I mean, it might be more the white collar jobs, right?
Exactly. And I think like a lot of that reflection, I have to swallow that as well too. And just the way that we're seeing it, it makes a lot of sense where I'm seeing a lot of like from like just going into different organizations and assessing it, and just the way that society's sort of going is white collar work is like the tedious aspects that nobody wants to do. And that's always how it starts. Like with any technological revolution, it's going to be about the things that nobody really wants to do. How do we make it easier for everybody? And then the buy-in comes from there, and then it just kind of,
And so I don't want this on sale. And I mean, like one of the funniest examples was like one of my friends, Thage, who's down in California. He does a lot of work in San Francisco, like an actual coder on that side. And he's like got it set up just to scan our inventory to kind of start doing that learning process. And like before it's like, okay, well I wanted to figure this out for me, and like what it caught before that is like, okay, we can go into that, but before we do that, you have these products that you're selling where the cost is higher than the retail price. And it was smart enough to realize that this is commonly done when a case got received as a product got received as the case price instead of the individual unit price. I love that. And like it wasn't enough that even when he went back to it next week, it's like, hey, like almost with an attitude, like, hey, you still haven't addressed this issue. I'm like, okay, shit, man, let me go do this right now. But it's like little things like that are things like, that's not really replacing an employee, but it's making my life easier, it makes the employee's life easier. And like for us, as we're scaling, we can see it as like, hey, this is another tool that I can't be physically at all 4 locations at any given point. But if there's something that I know has downloaded my thought process.
Yeah, and I think that's like a lot of it as well too, where it's like, AI is kind of like your brain, right? But then it's also like, it's only as good as your inputs are. Yeah. And then outside of that, it's going to follow that process. I want to know, when you were getting started, what was one of the biggest, like one of the toughest or like challenge, like something like that you really had to like do some soul searching related to, like, hey, this is the path that I want to go down?
I mean, the biggest one with like cannabis and selling drugs, like everything about going to school was so I didn't start selling drugs, right? Like the biggest thing, I remember the first thing showing him was like pointing at like the little excise stamp that comes on every product. I'm like, this is from the CRA. And it's like, ooh, like there's a lot of oohs and ahs for them. And like showing them like, kind of like really warming them to ideas like, hey, these are capsules, these are topicals, these are edibles, these are gummies. For them, I think it was like, okay, like, and I think the same way with a lot of things is like, for them, a lot of it was like, if the government says it's okay, then it's okay, right? And like, so that was a big part of it, is like getting them to come there, seeing the store. And like, actually funny enough, like the first thing we did, like, this is the family business now. We set up the session and we made every one of them smoke a joint with us on the balcony. Like, no, we don't want to smoke. I'm like, you have to. I'm like, you guys, if you're going to tell me that this is still a bad idea, you're going to do it after you try the weed and tell me which part of this is bad for you, kind of thing, right? And I think that's the beauty, again, of having that path that maybe isn't always just a straight line. Because like sometimes when you're not sure where you're going, the one thing you're really sure of when you've taken a different zigzaggy route is like, I don't know where I'm going, but I definitely don't want to go back there.
Because you speak to it already, but like, where did local come from? And then how did that...
It was, and like, I think that was a big part of it, is like, it sounds like a cheesy name to just call yourself local cannabis. And we're not trying to trick anybody on that side of it, but we always had the approach like local is more than just a word to us. We wanted to drive everything that we do. Like my big thing always been, but a big part of it was just like assume positive intent. And for me, it's kind of been like the balancing act both ways has been looking at it and saying like, okay, I'm going to assume positive intent, but if somebody shows me that they don't have positive intent, I'm cutting them out ruthlessly.
Yeah.
That's it. Like there's not a second chance on that.
Once,
like, yeah, if you come in and like, I'm not even getting fooled the second time. That's it. You fool me once, you're done.
Yeah.
But it's what allows me to just be positive and nice and open-minded all the time. Because I'm like, yeah, it's cool. I'm accepting the fact that I'm going to get burned sometimes. I'm going to take some hits on products sometimes. That's fine. And like, that's what we have here with the team, is like, we always teach is like, we want to teach thought processes, not rigid policy and procedures. We want to teach thought processes.
And it goes down, like, I feel like a lot of like you as well too, is like, as you're navigating life, you constantly evolve. As you're going through it, you learn, and then you adapt that.
But it's like, once you figure out that part, and like we were talking about earlier, is like, once you figure out like, I'm not sure where this is leading, but I don't want to go back there. You're willing to work harder. And you also realize now, when I have all these people around me, is like I don't want to make this job that job for them. Like 100%. This thing that they're miserable and that they hate. I'm like, you're going to be empowered. You can make your own decisions. If you decide to do something outside of the normal way, I'm like, you just got to have the why, right? I'm like, if you tell me, I don't know, I just did it, I'm like, I'm going to be pissed. But it's like, oh, I did this, this, and this. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, I can see how you got there. Next time, let's go back to doing it this way. But I'm not going to be mad about that. Like, I want them to run it like they own the business, right? Like, that to me is the biggest compliment in the world when somebody thinks my staff owns the business. I'm like, I don't have an ego about it. I'm like, that's great. It means you care.
like if as like founders and CEOs or whatever somebody might be, if you could just put that ego aside and like lead the way that you lead, it pays dividends. And
it helps, and you'll find that like along the way there's going to be people that don't fit into it.
But if we are looking in the future, where would you want to be 5 years from now, or how do you envision like both like where would you be 5 years? Like what's like dream?
We got our 4 stores. We've got some high volume stores. We have small town stores. I get to work with people that I love working with. I get to support brands that we want to support. I'm like, we're cool with 5. Like I've always said, I'm like, the 5th store would have to be in a city that doesn't want us. And I think where a lot of people get into it is like, a lot of people, I think, what can I make the most amount of money with now? I'm like, I don't need endless growth.
Exactly.
I'm like, I want to be at a point where I can manage good growth and happiness and providing a good environment for people to work with. Like we always say, weaponizing what our leanness is. Like, you know, a lot of times, like if we need somebody to cover deliveries on Saturday, it's me. Like I'll jump in. I'm like, cool, I'm going to work for 4 or 5 hours, driving around, dropping off deliveries, whatever it is. Like you can't act like you're too big for the business. And I think that's how you get your team bought in too.
100. That I want to ask you, if you didn't pursue what you pursued, what would you not have learned? Like, what is something that you learned throughout this entire experience of you operating in this, whatever it might be?
Like, I think it's crazy. Like, you that you want to end into. I think where people get stuck on the hamster wheel is like, okay, I'll work harder and I'll move up then. It's kind of just taking a second to realize, like, okay, it's not just this role, but I'm like, if I do this really well and I move up here, and then I kill that and I move up here, I'm like, am I going to be happy here? Because like, that was the moment where like that sunk cost of like, well, I went to school for finance. I did all this stuff. Like giving it all up. And the technology was a big one for me. And then really when that didn't work out with it, was a lot of it was like, when I went and worked at a call center, it was like specifically looking for a job. I'm like, I don't want to take my work home with me. But it was really just taking that time off and taking a step back. Because I think when you're like just jumping from one job to the next, like you don't have that luxury of stopping. And it was, again, it didn't make any fiscal sense. I'm going to take a few months off. I'm going to reset. And it was just Googling at that time. Like, I'm like, what do I love? I'm like, I love technology. The next Google after that was, what's the best tech company to work for in BC? And then I just spent 2 months applying for them. Like, once I get in there, I'll learn what I need to do. I'll work hard enough to do what I want. So like, that's the part, I think, the difference between delusional, like, hey, everything, people taking the leap of faith and thinking everything will work out. I'm like, everything won't just work itself out. But if you take the approach like, hey, I'm going to just head in this direction. I'll learn whatever I have to learn. I'll put in whatever time I have to do. I'll make whatever sacrifice that I have to do to make this work. Then you can confidently just leave, right? And like, I remember having this and like, but I remember one time coming back from a reception and I remember telling my parents, I'm like, this is an ability. I'm like, you guys gave me this ability. I'm like, you guys came here, you worked so hard. I'm like, I know you guys have to do things because you have to do them. I'm like, a thing that's so foreign to our parents is like, I'm not happy. Like, not doing something because you're not happy, that doesn't exist.
No, that's not a reason.
And like, just tell them, like, you guys did this. Like, you guys have put me in this position where I can legitimately just leave a job because I'm not happy. And I'm like, and every time I've left a job, I'm like, I've been able to find something right after that. And it's just like every one of them has always made me a little bit happier. And I think this is kind of that culmination for me. I'm like, okay, I've got everything here. Now I've got this ability to shape things the way I want them to be shaped. So it gives you a little bit more control. And at that point, you just need to be successful enough to keep doing it, right? That's the difference between a passion project 100%. And a successful business is just making it make economic sense, right?
100%.
But I always like to think of what's my absolute worst case scenario here. Mentally accept that, like, okay, we're good. Once you've accepted that, hey, this could go completely sideways and this is the worst case scenario, if you can live with that, move forward. If you can't live with that, find a different direction because you're not going to, like, that might be what crushes you at that point, right?
100%. But I just wanted to just thank you, man. I really appreciate you taking this time.
Thank you, man. It's an honor to be the first guest on this